we're starting with our French seam. You have two pieces, so that could be your front on a seam. This is your right side of your fabric, this is the wrong side of your fabric. With a French seam, you put wrong side of the fabric onto wrong side of the fabric and line your seam allowance up. You have a notch for your seam allowance. In this case, it's 1.2 centimeters. You pin your seam all the way down, make sure it sits accurately. And I pin with the pearls facing out to the right, so for easy access to pull them off or out when I sew. I now turn on my machine. The light goes on when I turn on my machine. Place my fabric underneath the foot and line the foot, the edge of the foot up with the edge of the fabric, the cut line. Put down the foot. Now the width from the foot to the middle of the needle is 0.5, so 5 millimeters. I start sewing. Few stitches forward and I back tack, and then keep going all the way to the end. Pull out the pins as we go. And a back tack at the end. Okay. Once you've stitched your seam, you need to cut down your seam by a millimeter. So the frayed threads have to come off. And you open your garment and press the seam to one side with steam and suction. You turn it over. You can go over it with steam again. And then you fold your seam along that stitching line. This is your wrong side, remember? Placing the pins along the seam with the pearl facing out. And you're now ready to sew your next step. We're now stitching our last step on the French seam. You can see the notch up the top here. This should be a 6 millimeter notch now because we've already stitched some off. So 6 millimeters is a 1/4 inch, and that's this line along here. That means you need to line the edge of the fabric up with that line along on the plate on the machine. So you have your, lift your foot, place your garment underneath the foot, line it up with the line here, take your pin out and start sewing. Remember to back tack. So a few stitches forward, back tack, and you stitch all the way down, keeping it nice and straight along that 1/4 inch line. That's 6 millimeters. Back tacking at the other end, cutting the thread off, and we're going to the ironing board for seam pressing. We have our French seam finished. This is your right side and this is the wrong side of the fabric. We now need to steam the seam, and starting from one end, and press your seam towards the back of your garment. Use some steam and suction. Turn it over and you can press it again, making sure it's nice and neat. French seams, your French seam is done, like that, and like that from the other side. That's the wrong side of the garment. French seams are done on mainly sheer materials, like on this blouse. You find French seams along here, that is a French seam, and also on the side seam.